Hey, it's Matthias now out of the Grono office, and I'd like to give you a real quick update on the AMS Asset Monitor new functionality that we brought into the Asset Monitor with the firmware version 2.0 that we have released in June 2021 now. So with that, the first thing for showing everything up and going into the box is to log into your Asset Monitor after starting your browser and just entering the IP address with your credentials, and that's Matthias for me and my password as well. For already moving into the box and seeing the dashboard screen where you see how many assets you have configured and what the status of the asset is, the charm status of all charms that have been plugged into the box, the device status finally from health perspective, as well as the trend, the overall asset health trend that has been stored inside of the asset monitor over some period of time that can be scaled over here with 1 day up to 10 years, whatever is preferred. Now moving to the charm section, and you see from charm section all the charms that are plugged into my asset monitor are shown from here, including the new tachometer charm and the new voltage charm, which became now available with the firmware 2.0 update as well from hardware perspective. So there are two more new charms that we're supporting. And especially about the piezo charms, there is an update I'd like to show real quick from a configuration perspective, as we now can show the measurement value acceleration and the peak view value additionally. So that's two values coming out of one measurement, which can be easily chosen from configuration. If you're choosing acceleration as a measurement type from sensor perspective, you have opportunities to show either acceleration plus peak view or velocity plus peak view from integration of the accelerometer, or peak view only, and that's the options we now have as an update here. Now, moving back to the charm section and going into the external data points, which is completely new functionality that allows you to drive external data into the asset monitor for taking it under consideration together with the asset from alarming perspective, but also for some parameters from health analytics perspective, specifically temperature measurements for the heat exchanger or a speed measurement for any of the other assets could be driven from external through an external data point, which means you're providing this data to the asset monitor from via OPC UA or from Modbus import perspective. And this means that external data can now be driven into asset monitor to be processed together with all the values that the asset monitor is measuring directly by connecting a sensor or a signal to an input charm internally. Now further moving to the asset itself, and as you see here, I have one asset configured. Some updates on that is that when looking into the configuration of the asset itself, you see now that specifically for the configuration of the asset from bearing perspective, we now have a bearing database embedded into the asset monitor where you can easily search any type number, bearing type number, or manufacturer. So let me enter, for example, 1111, which is an SKF type or any other type that could be found from the database. So you can also enter SKF if you want for searching this functionality at least. So you see now the SKF 1111, and this can be easily chosen from the database instead of entering all this data manually on the bearing frequencies, mechanical parameters, model type, and manufacturer. So another update over here is from source mapping perspective, as you now see that we don't have one position for every single measurement point. We have grouped them for cleaning up and tidying up the screen over here on the display of the locations of every measurement point. So it's group 1, group 2, group 3, and additionally to those groups that are embedded into the rules from calculation perspectives that are used for calculating the health understanding of the asset monitor or the assets the asset monitor is looking to finally. You see that we have additional parameters, group number 4 and 5, that are used for reference only and for alarming for sure as well, but not directly embedded into the health analytics. But the screen has been tidied up, and you see the additional parameters for alarming, which is quite new to the asset configuration. In addition to the updates of the rules itself, so it's nothing we can show as those rules are working in the background. But specifically for the rules, the methodology that is used for calculating it has been updated. And for some of the rules, specifically for bearing and the gearboxes, we're now having opportunities to use the Peak View Plus functionality and technology inside of those rules as well for more relevant information and better understanding about the health condition of any type of asset the asset monitor is looking to. Now, further to that, and looking now to the output logics, specifically for the output logics, you see that this if and then condition is still available as it has been before, but specifically for the output, we're now having a delay opportunity with up to 1 day. It's around about 1 day. It's 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds finally. So you can have a delay of up to 1 day for the alarm output that might be driven through a digital output out of the asset monitor for further processing. And well, with that, following up with the alert section. So from alert section, you see everything that happened inside of the asset monitor and which is still active. So if there would be a bad sensor, this would be shown over here. Now, just for showing some data up, I'm going to the historical part, and you see that there was synchronization issues about the sensor and the signal coming into any charm. So you see exactly which charm it was, channel number 7, a charm low current, has provided an issue in the past, but this is solved already, otherwise it would have been shown from the active status as well. So all the things, the audit trail data over here, all the parameters that might have been bad in the past or alarms that came around out of the asset monitor are stored inside of the edits list. Now, user's perspective, we have a separate tutorial for that, but from user's perspective, you're able to go into edit for any of the users or set up new user accounts with specific roles they have and administration levels. But now just one thing I'd like to highlight over here with going to the edit, you see the login name, password can be set up over here, the role with administration level and what they're able to do. But you can also change the preferred units as well as the preferred language that this user should see all the data and configuration parameters of the asset monitor. So it could be English, which is our preference and default parameter, but could be German, Chinese, and Polish as well. Okay, and last but not least, moving into the system section over here and going into configuration. And from here, you now see that we still have our OPC UA. And one thing that for OPC UA should be taken under consideration is a new parameter that can be used from a checkbox, which means convert data to double to float, which is one of the requirements to use just float data for being connected to a Delta V system, as those data inside of the Delta V system is processed with float data only, and it does not support double. So whenever you connect to a Delta V system, make sure you have checked the box over here for the OPC settings. But additionally to that, some completely new parameter appears from the Modbus TCP, since the asset monitor now with the firmware 2.0 supports a Modbus as well, which means finally the Modbus TCP settings, the server settings can be set up over here. You can enable that for one of the two ports, LAN 1 or LAN 2. You have input registers and holding registers, which are not mapped per default, so all the mappings must be done individually. So that means you have a few registers, or I have a few registers over here that are mapped to any data points. But for new registers, just press on the new register button and browse data to see a full list of every single parameter that's available from the Modbus structure, including the read and write registers. So write registers are typically those external data points for driving data into the asset monitor back from any other systems through either OPC or Modbus. And canceling that over here and canceling it over here. You have the same section for the holding registers as well. So from holding register's perspective, you can press new register and browse button as well to see all the registers over here. And that's just a very quick update on the asset monitor. I'm just canceling it over here, moving back to the dashboard. That's just a very quick update on the asset monitor new functionality and what it means from configuration and understanding perspective in design and visualization. If looking to the dashboard or any other section inside of the Asset Studio configuration tool, which can be used for setting up the asset monitor finally.